All right, guys. So we will be talking a lot about narratives today on the board. If you watch the video, it's going to talk to you about how to write your own narrative. So a narrative is just a story that you have to tell that happened to you. If you will click on the book, My Rotten Redheaded Older Brother by Patricia Polacco, she actually wrote a narrative or a real life story about her life and living with her brother and an incident that happened with her brother. And so today I'm not reading the book to you. I'm going to let one of the actors from Storyline Online read the book to you. It's on the table. Click on it. It is one of my favorites. I love it. And I want you to listen to it. Because when you write a narrative, you use words like I and I saw, I went, me, my, words that are personal to you, things that happen to you. So today, I want you to think of a good story to tell me about something that happened to you. You can brainstorm it under events if you want. So let me look and see what I have under events and see if it's anything worth writing about. I've got a good event. We'll write about. Okay, can you see? Okay, let me get my pencil. Remember to hold your pencil kind of flat back against your hand. Do your fish face if you have to. Do you see fish face there? All right. So I want to write about an event that happened to me once. So where I grew up, I'm going to tell you this story before I draw a picture so you understand what I'm doing. Where I grew up, it was an old farmland. It had been in my family for probably over 100 years. But before my family had it, it belonged to another Cherokee family. And so my great-great-uncle Jim had bought the land that we lived off the Cherokee lady who had it after Oklahoma became a state and he was allowed to buy it. So there had been an old house that sat behind the house I grew up in. I barely remember it. It wasn't safe, so my dad had to doze it down when I was a kid. And then there were some other old buildings that sat outside the house. Well, I had gone off to college where I was learning to be a teacher, and I come home for the weekend. So I had driven home, and when I get home, I see my family standing behind my house, kind of in the backyard, and they're all standing out in our driveway. And it had just rained a whole lot. So they're standing there looking down at the ground, and in the ground was this. I'm going to see if I can draw it very good and see if you guys can guess what it was that they found that had washed up in all the rain. I'm going to fix it. So again, a narrative, a real life story of something that happened. See if you can guess what it is that they found that washed up. Can you guys tell what that is? That was the only pieces left. I'm going to zoom in on it. And it was in the ground. There's the ground around it. Where it had washed up. There's a little bit of grass and stuff. And then right here was an old stone that used to be part of the old smokehouse foundation, and it still sits in the dirt. Kind of an old couple of big rocks right here. Can you tell what it was that washed up? It was an old gun. It was an old rifle. I don't know if it had been used in the old smokehouse and somebody just set it down and left it. Like maybe they'd shot a hog with it to eat and it just laid there and rot. I don't know, but it washed up and we still have it in the closet wrapped up in a towel. We took it to somebody who was an expert on those things and he told us what it was. And of course it wasn't worth much because it had just totally fallen apart. The butt of the gun had rotted away because it was made of wood and the metal was real fragile. And in fact, I helped him pull it up out of the ground. And when we did, the trigger broke off of it here and the hammer was in a separate piece. But it was still really, really interesting. And it reminded me that I wasn't the only one who had called that place home. that there'd been another family before, way before we ever lived there, that had called it home. So that is a real life story of something that for real happened to me. So if I were going to write that story down, I told you the really long version. I'm not going to write all of it down. So I'm going to try to make it short. Remember, we're trying to write 3 sentences here. So I'm going to quit labeling things. We're going to try to get away from labeling, and instead we're going to try to actually put it in our stories. So I'm kind of weaning you guys off having to label everything. If you still need to, that's okay. Go for it. If you don't have to. So remember, we start with a capital letter. So this space was a really neat, and I'm writing with a pen so you guys can see it better than my pencil. This was a really neat thing to find. Period. I end with a period. I don't put my period here just because I ran out of room. I make sure I finish my sentence. It was an old, I don't have room to write rifle. I might have room. I'm going to try it. Oh, looky there, I do, but I don't put my period there. It was an old rifle that washed up at my house when I was young. Period. I ended my sentence, so I put a period. That's 2 sentences. We want 3. It might have belonged to the family that used to live there over 100 years ago. Exclamation mark, because that's exciting. Isn't that crazy? So I did a lot of writing today. See if you guys can make your stories longer. This is my narrative. I wrote you a true story that for real actually happened to me. So again, I know you guys aren't going to have a story just like this. None of you will probably have a story just like this, but you may have another story that's pretty crazy that happened to only you and no one else. And I would like to hear those. So today, when you do your writing, if you want to get your moms and dads to take a picture of your writing and send it to me on Seesaw, I would love that. I've been getting some of your writings and I really enjoy seeing them. So if you would like to share, send it to me. And I hope you have a good day of writing. And real quick, here's that book I was telling you about. It's a narrative by Patricia Polacco. A narrative is a true story. Same here, listen to this video. It's how to write a personal narrative for kids. And I'm fixing to add your handwriting over here. You guys have an awesome day.